And my source tonight is Republican Congressman Don Bacon of Nebraska, who I should note is a veteran and sits on the Armed Services Committee. When you look at Joe Kent's resignation letter today, what's your reaction to his reasoning for leaving the administration over the Iran war?
Well, initially, my thought was I respect differences of opinion. I think good people can disagree about the attacks on Iran. I support it for a variety of reasons, which I could go into. But what bothered me was towards like 2/3 in, he was blaming the Israeli lobby for persuading President Trump and that he was beholden to Netanyahu. And it just goes back to some of the oldest anti-Semitic tropes that I see that go way back, way preceding, centuries, that there's a hidden Jewish cabal running our country. That's what he was tending to. And I didn't like it. I think we should speak up on that. I don't want that in the Republican Party.
You believe it was anti-Semitic, his letter?
I think it was clearly. If you see some of the staff around him that he's had in the past, he's been surrounded with folks who talk like that. But when you blame the Israeli lobby for us going to war to Iran, I have a problem with that. And I otherwise would have probably kept my mouth shut. But we Republicans have to stand against this.
And part of his letter, he also said that he believed he couldn't serve because he thought that Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, which is the exact opposite argument that President Trump and his top aides have been making. I mean, given his position, if there was intelligence that Iran was planning an imminent threat against the United States, wouldn't he have seen it?
I think he would have, and you can have a different judgment on this. Again, if he wouldn't have talked about the Israeli lobby and try to blame Israel for Trump's decision to go to war, I would have probably, okay, we just disagree, and I respect it. Now, I have a different view than he does. We've lost about 1,000 Americans from this IRGC and the regime, and 241 Marines. I go 19 airmen at Khobar Towers. I served in Iraq for a year, and on the best days, we'd have 3 rockets from proxy groups from Iran attack our position. On bad days, it'd be like 30. And so, in the worst roadside mines or bombs were from Iran. And so, these guys have been killing us for a long time. And I think that's why I support the operation. They've been at war with us. It was time that we paid them back.
He reports to Tulsi Gabbard, obviously, where he did before he left. We know he met with her on Monday and the Vice President, J.D. Vance. They're all have had similar worldviews before, anti-interventionist worldviews. She's actually testifying before the Senate tomorrow, the House on Thursday. What do you want to hear from the Director of National Intelligence, who's been pretty quiet on this war since it started?
Well, her statement today was pretty neutral, saying, it's up to the president to make this determination. She is the Director of Intelligence. You would expect her to have a stronger position on this. But you're right, she has a background of being more isolationist. I think before serving this administration, you would expect her to not want to do this operation with Iran. But they should push her on the intelligence. And again, it's all right to have differences of opinion. I respect that. And if she could have a difference of opinion, I would respect it. But when you start blaming Israel and the Jewish lobby, it's not right.
Yeah, well, I mean, differences of opinion is one thing. Obviously, there's intelligence that they look at that shows others. In terms of, as we're looking at this, the president has been lashing out at NATO allies for not immediately saying yes to his request to help escort ships and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. They say they don't want to do so because, 1, it's dangerous. 2, they weren't coordinated on this war before it started and that it's not NATO's war. When you hear that and the president suggesting that the United States could leave NATO without the consent of Congress, what goes through your mind?
Well, anger, because NATO is the best alliance, strongest alliance in history. They've gone to war on our behalf after 9/11. He seems to forget that. But he has talked down to our NATO allies from day one. And when you treat your allies disrespectfully, you can't just expect them to jump when you say jump. And in this case, I sort of understand that they were not coordinated with, talked to about the attacks on Iran, and then to suddenly want them to help out. It's probably a bridge too far for most. But he needs to work on strengthening our alliances. If you have a strong friendships, they're more willing to do this. But when you denigrate Denmark and all these other countries, they're going to be more reluctant. And there's a loss of trust with our NATO allies right now. We have a lot of work to do to repair this loss of trust.
Is he wrong when he says that he can leave NATO without Congress?
Yeah, he's wrong. And maybe since you ask, if he broke up NATO on his own, it would be a civil war in the Republican caucus or the conference. Most of us would find that totally unacceptable, and I'm not alone. There's a large group of us that believe in our alliances and standing up for freedom and pushing back on China and Russia. We don't want war with these guys, but you got to be strong. And if he went in and somehow destroyed or tore up NATO, it would probably destroy the party for many years. There would be many that will never forgive that.
It would destroy the Republican Party.
I think it would implode.
Congressman Don Bacon, thank you for joining us tonight.